Hey, welcome back. Sorry about the voice. I got caught up in part of that dust storm when it first come in. It messing with my allergies a little bit. Right now in Darlington, Pennsylvania, just got unloaded. Get to go to Jackson, Ohio. Fun, fun. So, I didn't look up any numbers for this week. They're on the rise. This is what happens when you lock everybody up. If you want to continue to lock everybody up, you're going to do this. So let's just get it over with. Let's go with it. There are states like Texas have it shut down all the bars, took all the restaurants to 50% capacity to slow the spread. It's called targeted stuff. But got some really interesting news that went on this weekend, and so let's get into that. There's an appeals court decides that judge in General Flynn case must stop all proceedings. So that means the appeals court says, all right, judge, yeah, he signed a plea deal. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, is dropping all their deals. They're not even going to prosecute it. So cease and desist. He has officially been exonerated. The same turn, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which would be Florida, San Francisco, I believe is where theirs at, come out, and Trump lost that appeal, and they said that the Trump administration has been breaking the law by spending military funds on building the wall. Now, the reason for their deal on this one I find quite funny, because they use the Constitution when it's quite fitting for their reason, because they said, according to the Constitution, Congress has the purse, not him. They decide where the money gets spent, not him. I think it's very funny that they put all that out there and all that. Another little deal, Chesapeake Energy files for bankruptcy. That's a big deal in Oklahoma. Energy, I figure it's going to be Chapter 11. They've got interest in over 20 some odd thousand wells. So I think it's going to be more of a restructuring deal. Either they're going to come out of it, or some stock I bought, my little stash deal, is going to go to. So we'll find out here shortly, won't we? Okay, what's another one? Russia. Okay, here's a big deal. Evidently, somebody leaked that Russia told the Taliban in Afghanistan that they would put bounty on American soldiers' heads. Now, either way this goes, they're making it out to be like it's the world's end. But before you take that I said that lightly, I'm not. But let's get into some details here. Okay, Trump says he wasn't briefed about it. His press secretary says he wasn't briefed about it. The Fed secretary said he wasn't briefed about it. He wasn't briefed about it. He don't know about it. Okay, so either they're lying about that or they're not. And then the news comes back and says, oh God, that's even worse. He didn't even know about it. He don't care. Let me tell you something, people. The President of the United States does not know every minute of every detail of everything that goes on with every bit of this country. That's why he delegates, has chief of staff, has department staffs, like Bill Barr, crap, brain fart. But this is why you have department heads, so they can decide, hey, yes, he needs to know about this. No, he doesn't. Now, on the interesting fact about this, I take this whole lightheartedly. The Taliban even come back and said, that's not true. Now, like I said, I would take that with a grain of salt. But, again, here we go. All assault on President Trump. And there should have been a lot more assaults on other stuff. But it's very interesting. So here we go. Supreme Court had 3 major rulings this week while a lot of people weren't paying attention. One of it was that Texas, no, you cannot do 100% vote by mail. Get out, wear your mask, do whatever you feel you got to do, go to the polls, check the box. I absentee because I drive truck. I can't promise I'm going to be there the day of it. Now, in that case, soldiers, people that's not going to be home, truck drivers, absentee vote. Great. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. Absentee votes aren't really counted unless there's a fallback on it. And I know I'm going to catch some slack on that, but if you do your research on it, absentee ballots are some of the last to be counted. If they sit there and say there's this big major blowout, and we've got 14,000 absentee ballots, and the guy won by 27,000, it don't matter if the other person got all 14,000 ballots, they're still not going to win the state. They don't. Sorry. That's the real world. People's in denial over it. But I'm telling you, that's the way it works. But every vote does count, so do your duty. Okay, so there's a win. The second one, Trump wins on this one. It says people seeking asylum, the Trump administration can still deport without them making their case. Hoorah, I agree with that. You don't want a child molester in here trying to seek asylum. You don't want a drug trafficker in here trying to seek asylum. So if they've got proof of it, they've been convicted of it, get them out of here before it gets all taken care of or crazy, because there's some judges that'll do some dumb stuff. Now, in a same sentence, a federal judge says, hey, all these kids in this detention camp, since COVID's on the rise, you got to cut them all loose. Send them out there to their, family that's in the country. It's in the United States, not back to Mexico. Figure that one out. You won't see half them kids again unless they wind up somewhere. Okay, we got this one. It says, as COVID-19 rises again, targeted closing, Texas, California closed some beach down. Arizona's doing some stuff. New York says, hey, if you come up here and you're not from New York, you're going to have to quarantine for 14 days. Goodbye, tourism. You guys are in trouble. You need to vote them dummies out. I understand that they want to use this big fear-mongering. I've got a mask. People buy a mask. You can go to the store, get a box of masks, flip it over, read it. It will flat tell you it does not stop or prevent coronavirus, COVID-19, blah, 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 blah. Another good point that I'd seen something that went on this week. People buying up all this antibacterial stuff. Antibacterial is not antiviral, dum-dums. Besides, if you do your research, soap, if you wash your hands like you're supposed to, does the same thing as antibacterial soap does. It says, antibacterial soap kills it. Soap washes it off, does the same thing. Takes a little longer to break down the protein, but come on, people. Lord, we've got to have more common sense in this. Oh, yeah. I got a couple more notes on here. It says, erasing our history is bad. So here's the deal. All right. So I'm going to get on my little history rant here. So everybody's talking about all General A. Lee, Woodrow Wilson. Oh, yeah, Princeton. We can't have Woodrow Wilson School of International whatever because, we got to tear that down, rename it, get rid of the name. Okay. I think Woodrow Wilson was president. I believe he was killed. Theodore Roosevelt became president, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have to double check that. That's an interesting story there because Theodore Roosevelt was actually thrown into the vice presidency by the Rockefellers, J.P. Morgan, Carnegie, the Rothschilds, and everybody else that was back in the big monopolies back in 1896, I believe it was. And he was anti-monopoly. He was actually for the little guy instead of the guy, making the big money on that deal. And they actually, spent a lot of money, and that's when money became big into politics. It all started out, and if you sit there and look at it, now we've got a bunch of these people that go into it, the presidency, but that's a whole different, story there. It comes along the same deal, goes along with J.P. Morgan and how they screwed up Thomas Edison. Edison Electric, which became GE. They screwed Tesla because he actually had the patents for AC electricity in your house, which they screwed out of Westinghouse because Tesla actually worked with Edison and quit. Westinghouse backed him. They actually won the contract for the state fair in Chicago because they underbid it to prove that AC was a safe electrical unit. When Edison and General Electric was trying to use DC, now the funny part about it is every building's wired with AC. your cars and your boats, your motorcycles, anything with a battery is a DC. Figured that one out. But they're wanting to take down a statue of Theodore Roosevelt with a Native American and a black guy. And Theodore Roosevelt's on a horse. I'm like, the man was president. Yeah, anybody that's president has a statue of him has the right to be elevated above everybody else. The Indian and black man standing proud with him. But they're like, oh, well, that's not equal, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here's the deal. Get rid of all this history, you lose your identity, your culture as a nation. If you don't have a nation, then anybody can come in and do whatever they want, and you don't have any sense of pride or anything to protect. Or you dummies out there getting paid to do all this dumb stuff. This is why they don't teach history in school. This is why they don't teach civics. They don't teach all kinds of U.S. government anymore. Hell, I could go on. But you don't want to sit there and they're like, oh, well, we don't mind the statue. It's just, it's not fair that this guy and this guy. Well, okay, here's one. Here's a statue of President Lincoln. It was the first Lincoln Memorial, standing over a slave in chains. It was dedicated by Frederick. It's a black guy. The statue was paid for by slaves in 1866, 1867, after Lincoln's death. And, oh, well, we can't have that. And it's actually him helping the slave come up out of bondage. The slave's not standing up next to him. The black guy's not standing up next to him. Okay, so Daddy, why is that black guy standing next to the president? How do you explain that? Okay, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in history that's not great. It's not pretty, but it's our history. We either learn from it or repeat it. And since they haven't taught it in 20 some odd years, here we go, walking down the same school road that the Nazis took and deliberate and get rid of their cops, getting rid of their history. Then the brown shirts, the brown shirts could be considered Antifa or BLM or anything else. And they're just going to beat the crap out of you because you don't agree the same way that they do. Why they haven't taught history. This is why they don't want people to know history. You can't control an educated mind. People have critical thinking that says, no, this isn't right. No, we got a bunch of dum-dums running around doing this because, it's not fair. Okay. So here, we're going to get into this. Seen a post to start me greatly. It was a Facebook post about capitalism and how socialism needs to come in and everybody needs to make the same wage and everybody needs to do this because it's not fair that the guy that owns the company makes more money than they do. It actually said that if people were paid the value of their time for the work that they did, nobody could afford them. Okay, well, I tell you what, McDonald's, all fast food employees, the day you can get my order right, I don't have to pull up the window because the manager's like, please pull up. I got some stuff to do. This happened to me a week or so ago. Then we can talk about it. Until then, hell no. Another thing is, anybody that thinks that they deserve as much as the owner does, the guy that put all the money on the line, got his life on the line. You start a small business, it's not like there's a bunch of investors out there going, here's money, here's money, here's money. If you lose it all, don't worry about it. No, the guy that puts his name on the line is responsible for every dime of that. And he's also responsible that whenever you, as an employee, want to take a day off or take 4 or 5 days off for a holiday, your birthday or whatever, he's the one out there probably still busting his hump to make sure that the company has a check to cover your check. There's times, I promise you, as an employee, you didn't earn all the money that you got paid. You didn't cover all the cost of it, and it come out of his pocket. And 99% of the time, I'm willing to bet that the guy owning the company is making less than you are. The company might be making some, but as an owner, when you start out we're talking small company startups, 99% of the time, the people working for the guy with all the risk is making more money than he is. I see posts like that, and that royally just lights my fuse and says, y'all have no damn clue. So there's that one. Until you're willing to put your name on the line And, if I started a company and I'd sunk $250,000 onto it and you want part of it, fine. You come up with $150,000 and hand it to me. I'll let you have part of it. And then you can have some of the stress. And whenever everything else goes on with it, like when something breaks, you're like, how am I going to pay for that? Or when this goes on, how am I going to pay for that? Or when somebody says, hey, I can't come in today because I'm sick, my kid's sick, or whatever. All this has to be made up. Great. Figure it out. Until then, enjoy your paycheck. Enjoy you got a job. Another thing is, got all these people going out there, and hang on, let me gather my thoughts. And take his rabbit track here real quick. See a post on Facebook going to our U.S. congressman in our little area. Says, hey, there's rumors of a civil war brewing. What do you know about this? Well, I tell you what, your congressman, your senator, they ain't going to sit there and say, oh, yeah, we've heard. We're not going to say anything. But if you keep destroying the history, there's going to be a bunch of people stand up in this country and say, that's it, we've had enough. All hell's going to break loose. And when it does, it's going to be bad. So, this is why we helped start this channel on the Friday side of it. How to be self-sufficient. Victory Gardens. Ooh, I bet nobody's heard of that. It's below 40 years old. It's a garden that was mandatory in World War II because all the food was feeding the troops. So you had to have a garden to make sure your family ate, by the way. It was called a Victory Garden. Maybe y'all should learn how to do that. Maybe you should learn how to fish. Maybe you should learn how to trap and hunt. Now, do it all legally. Do it all within the rules. Because if you don't, then you wind up like in the 30s. Everybody takes off, does dumb stuff. Then animals are almost hunted to extinction. So please learn how to survive. Learn how to take care of your family. You should have been preparing this whole time, learning how to do canned foods. Canned meat, vegetables, stuff lasts for, I'm telling you, I've eaten stuff 3 years old that I've canned 3 or 4 years ago. Never had a problem with it. You can take what the USDA says. It's not a government agency, by the way. And put it out there and say, here's this, here's that. U.S. Department of Ag, yes. Oh, wait a minute. FDA, and they're the ones that regulated drugs and all that. So, but they're going to put stuff on there that says, oh, it's only good for a year. Man, use some common sense. Does it look good? Does it smell good? Eat it. Old Italian guy told me that one time. So, let me see here. Back to this whole work deal. There are people in this world that's got it a whole lot worse than all of us do. And there are people that have it a whole lot better. Our Constitution, written for a reason, says you have the right to the pursuit of happiness. Your happiness is different than everybody else's. Some people don't want to be business owners. Some people do. Some people want to be millionaires. Some people want to do whatever. Some people are happy just working for the man because it ain't no responsibility. Okay, other than that, you got to figure it out, what goes on with it. And I have to make some phone calls so I can go get loaded. Other than that, stay vigilant, be safe. Till next week, we love y'all. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much.